Now that the Switch 2 has come out, there's been a lot of speculation about what we'll see next from Nintendo's biggest franchises. When's the new 3D Mario coming out? What's the next Smash game gonna look like? And will Wario World finally get a sequel? One franchise I've seen a lot of people talking about is Animal Crossing. The most recent game in the series, Animal Crossing New Horizons, was a huge success. It ended up becoming the second best-selling game on the Switch, which is pretty insane. Animal Crossing literally beat Mario and Pokemon, at least in terms of individual sales. Animal Crossing has really cemented itself as one of Nintendo's top franchises. But Animal Crossing has never been treated quite the same as Nintendo's other top franchises. Nintendo is usually rushing to get a new Mario or Pokemon game on their newest console, as well as putting out some sort of spin-off or re-release each year. Animal Crossing doesn't get that same treatment. Let's compare Animal Crossing and Zelda, for example. Animal Crossing has gotten fewer mainline games than Zelda, and it's gotten way less games if you include spin-offs and re-releases. With Animal Crossing, there's usually much longer gaps between titles. It's been over 5 years since New Horizons came out in 2020, and before that, there was a 7-year gap between New Leaf and New Horizons. And Nintendo has never done a lot of spin-offs for Animal Crossing. The 2 spin-offs they did make were not very well received. On top of that, Animal Crossing New Horizons, despite being the most popular game in the series, has become a somewhat controversial title. For all the hundreds of hours of fun that game was, there were a lot of problems with it too. I'm not going to go too into detail because I could talk about that game for hours, and I probably will at some point, but in my opinion, New Horizons missed some of the stuff that makes Animal Crossing special. So for all those reasons and more, I'm just left wondering. The first thing I want to talk about is spin-offs, because even though Animal Crossing hasn't gotten a lot of spin-offs in the past, I don't think it's completely off the table either. Splatoon is an equally big Nintendo franchise, and now it's finally getting its own spin-off with Splatoon Raiders. So how would Nintendo go about doing another Animal Crossing spin-off? Well, first off, I don't think they would follow up any of the spin-offs they've already done. The first Animal Crossing spin-off was Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, which was released on the 3DS in 2015. You play as an interior decorator, helping characters create their dream homes, as well as other facilities.
You're not gonna believe this. He killed 16 Czechoslovakians. Guy was an interior decorator.
The game is pretty fun, but one problem with it is that it's a little directionless. There aren't very many guidelines on how you should decorate each home. Usually there's just 1 or 2 pieces of furniture that you're required to include, but the rest of it is entirely up to you. You could put a dead dog in Isabel's house and she'd still probably love it. The reason I don't think they'll make a follow-up to this game is because they kinda already did make a follow-up to this game with the Happy Home Paradise DLC for New Horizons. I think making the follow-up a DLC was kind of a smart move. In my opinion, the gameplay of Happy Home Designer makes more sense as a side mode in a main Animal Crossing game than something that's meant to be its own game. The only other Animal Crossing spin-off is Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival on the Wii U. Amiibo Festival is an Animal Crossing party game, similar to Mario Party. So, why wouldn't they do a follow-up to Amiibo Festival? That game is not good. Also, it seems to have literally only been made to sell more Amiibo figures, and that's all. So if Nintendo wanted to do another Animal Crossing spin-off, it'd have to be a whole new Animal Crossing spin-off series. One idea I have is to make an Animal Crossing farming sim game, similar to Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon. They were sort of heading in that direction when they added crops to New Horizons, but that wasn't a very fleshed out concept. It would be kinda interesting if, instead of managing a town, you were running a farm. That said, I kinda doubt an Animal Crossing spin-off is gonna happen soon. Nintendo usually likes to get a new entry out for each franchise before they start doing spin-offs of them, so if we see an Animal Crossing spin-off on Switch 2, it'll probably be after the next mainline Animal Crossing comes out. So, what else might Nintendo do with Animal Crossing? Another option is to re-release an old Animal Crossing game. It's actually kinda crazy that there's never been a re-release of an Animal Crossing game, despite the series being almost 25 years old. But which game would Nintendo re-release? Well, when in doubt, just re-release the first one. I actually think this is very likely to happen soon. The original Animal Crossing is a GameCube game, for the most part, and Nintendo just added a GameCube Nintendo Classics app to the Switch 2. I bet they'd love to add another game to that service to encourage people to buy Switch 2s and the Switch Online expansion. Despite the flaws that the original Animal Crossing has, people still adore this game, myself included. And I think a lot of people who played New Horizons would probably like to see where the series began. And it would also be nice to play the original game without having to boot up the GameCube every time, but that's more of a me problem. The second most likely re-release of an Animal Crossing game, in my opinion, is a remaster of Animal Crossing New Leaf. When New Horizons first came out, it was constantly being compared to the previous game, New Leaf. Most Animal Crossing fans consider New Leaf to be the best game in the series. It's also the second best-selling game in the series, behind New Horizons. So, of all the Animal Crossing games, I think this one is the one people want re-released the most. I know I'd love to see this game come back. But what about Wild World and City Folk? Well, those are both good games, and I'd still be happy if they were re-released, but I don't think they're as essential as New Leaf or the original Animal Crossing are. That's why I think a re-release of Wild World or City Folk is a lot less likely. Now, wouldn't it be cool if they did a Switch 2 edition of New Horizons? No.
Today, we'd like to introduce the Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Switch 2 Edition game, which adds
Okay, I originally wrote and filmed this video before the New Horizons Switch 2 Edition got announced. They just had to announce it while I was producing this video in particular. But most of my opinions in this video still stand. So let's go back to what I was saying before the Switch 2 Edition got announced. I don't know, I'm just really not interested in going back to that game. I had my fun with it, but I don't think it has as much staying power as the other games. And most people would probably agree with me on that, to a certain extent. On top of that, Nintendo already released a bunch of additional content for that game. So, I don't think getting more content over 5 years after the game came out would do very much for me. Overall, I think it's very likely we'll see either the original Animal Crossing come to Switch Online, or New Leaf getting some sort of HD remaster. Either way, we'll probably be getting some sort of Animal Crossing re-release during the Switch 2 generation. Okay, now for the part you've all been waiting for. What's the next Animal Crossing gonna be like? Well, I don't know. What do I look like, Mr. Animal Crossing? I think the main question to ask here is whether the next game will try doing a lot of new things like New Horizons did, or if it'll try and be more like the old Animal Crossing games. A problem that Animal Crossing was facing for a while was that the games were all too similar to each other. Wild World and City Folk were so similar that a lot of people see them as interchangeable. Neither of them really had any groundbreaking gimmicks. New Leaf and New Horizons, on the other hand, made a lot of changes to the formula. They both added features that gave the player more freedom to customize their game. New Leaf introduced public works projects that you could install in your town, and New Horizons went even further by allowing the player to terraform their island to be the exact shape they wanted it to be. New Horizons also added a crafting mechanic, where you can forage for materials on your island, and then use them to build furniture and tools. These additions really set New Leaf and New Horizons apart from the other Animal Crossing games. But still, as much as I'd like the next Animal Crossing to innovate and differentiate itself, I think it also needs to improve on stuff that New Horizons didn't do as well as the older games. For example, one of the biggest criticisms with New Horizons is that the villagers are bland and their dialogue is not very interesting. Looking back at the original Animal Crossing, the villagers were kinda assholes sometimes. I know it seems kinda weird to like that, but having villagers with a wider range of emotions just makes the game feel more alive. It feels like there's actual people living in your town and not just a bunch of models with no personality. Another thing New Horizons did worse than the older games is that it has way less shops and places to visit. I miss all the shops on Main Street and Tortimer Island with all its minigames. They sort of tried to fix this by adding shops to Harv's Island and bringing back the Roost to the museum, but these ended up feeling kinda half-baked. I miss going to dedicated shops with their own decor and vibe to them. The thing with New Horizons is that it introduced a lot of interesting new features, but as a result, it took away a lot of the things that give Animal Crossing its charm and identity. That's why I think it's important for the next game to differentiate itself from the older games, but still keep that feeling of Animal Crossing, you know? It might help to have a re-release of an older Animal Crossing game. That way there's a more familiar game available while Nintendo does all kinds of crazy stuff with the next game. If people don't like the next game, well, they can always just go back to the game that they know they like. Okay, now before I close out this video, I have to answer the million-dollar question. When's the next Animal Crossing coming out? Pause. Alright, so I did this whole bit about how the game would probably come out in spring of 2027, but that all went down the shitter when the 3.0 update for New Horizons got announced. My revised prediction is that the next game will come out in spring of 2028. I don't think the Switch 2 edition of New Horizons deconfirms that a new game is in development. If anything, I think this update to New Horizons is just a warm-up for the dev team as they start to make the next game. That's why I think it'll take at least another 2 years for the next game to come out. But no matter what, I think it's about time we see something new from the Animal Crossing franchise. And I'm really excited about that, because Animal Crossing is one of my favorite game franchises. Like a lot of other people, I played Animal Crossing a lot when I was a kid, so it holds a special place in my heart. I'll definitely be discussing Animal Crossing more in the future, especially with the next game on the horizon. Horizons. New Horizons.